Hey, welcome to Epic Health Partners. My name is Stephanie Blanchard. I am the moderator for today's panel with our top people in charge of our wonderful company, Epic. We sent out a survey earlier this year to our employees, to the staff, to everyone, to see what we like, what we don't like, what we can change, what we don't need to change, and just asking us the hard questions, and now we need to get the hard answers from our top. So we're going to introduce the panel for today. We have Mr. Corey Williams, the Chief Executive Officer, top-notch security of the world here.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Stephanie, for moderating this event. I'm very excited about this opportunity because we've been discussing how can we hear more from you guys from all sites, because we're located in Richmond, Martinsville, and Danville. So combining everybody's questions and putting them on a video, and this was Shekinah's idea. Thank you, Shekinah. For us to give you guys answers to those questions is important to us. So thank you guys for doing so, and keep it up. We're going to try to do this once a quarter. I won't promise that I'll be on here once a quarter, as we have a tremendous team, and I think you need to hear from all of them, but we're excited about doing this.
All right, further left, we have Miss Chanel Beard, our clinical director. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here. Happy to answer questions. I love Epic. I love the team. And we really, we just want to make sure that we're providing you all with what you need, so that in turn, you provide us and your individuals with what we need and what they need. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. All right, and all the way to the furthest left of me, we have Miss Veronica Pinella, our Chief Clinical Officer, the next top flight of the world.
Thank you, guys. One of the things that I like that we are doing now is that I feel like we are truly becoming transparent as a company, and I think the more transparent we are, the more people push in the same direction. So I'm excited that we're doing this, and that we're going to try to do our best to maintain doing things like this, to give you all information and to just hear you guys. So thank you for giving us that opportunity.
Absolutely, and I for one am very honored to have been chosen to do this for our company. I have been with Epic for 5 years, y'all. Please clap it up for me. Come on now. This is the longest relationship I've ever been in. I don't think I've ever cheated on Epic, but I've been here for 5 long years. So when I got to Epic, I was welcomed. I came straight from Virginia Beach to Danville, Virginia, and met Corey, and just fell in love with the whole atmosphere of the family, and us sticking together, and the morale building, and dealing with the clients and learning resources. But some things have changed over the years. So those are the things that we're going to talk about. Me being a strong woman, I'm able to help us find out what's going on and how we can all come together, because it's been just a little bit hard lately. So we got these questions, and I'm going to ask them. And you ready?
Ready? Let's
All
go.
right. The biggest question that everybody asks, everyone, no matter how much hard work they put in, how many clients they get, how many supervisions we go to, all the extra stuff we do outside of hours, the notes and everything, it appears other agencies are getting more than Epic. We need some more money. So how are we going to handle that? Is our pay going to increase? What do we have to do in order to get more money with Epic? Some people can't survive off what they're getting.
Great question. Happy to answer that.
Okay.
So, our HR team we're currently evaluating what our current pay rates are and where they rank in regards to our competitors. What are our competitors paying? For quite some time when we started the organization, Epic was the premier payer agency around, and it appears that may no longer be the case. We're not as big as we were. We don't have as many clients as we once served. That all plays a factor into that. But recruiting the best Qs, providing a high quality care is important to us. So what I've asked the HR team to do is and it's been hard, difficult, that's what Shekinah and I was talking about today, it's been difficult to do, is let's identify what our competitors are paying.
Mm.
And then let's ensure that we're in the at least middle or higher percentile, that we're and combined with benefits. Now, a lot of agencies are saying, all right, you come in, you be a 1099, we're going to pay you your own entity, but you're not eligible for health care and things of that nature. So please take that into account. But evaluating pay rates to ensure that we're in line with our competition is important to us, and we will evaluate that over the next couple of weeks, and you guys should be getting some information in regards to that.
Okay, yeah, because I got to report back to the team if we getting raises or not. They're gonna ask me. You know, they're gonna ask.
So what I'm committing to do is evaluating where we are, communicating where we currently stand, and letting you guys know what our plan is if we're not in the upper percentile, what we need to do to get to our percentile.
Okay.
So how can you guys help with that? Good question as well. So obviously improving utilization, providing a high quality of care, bringing referrals in through the door to ensure that we have more clients, and by improving documentation, because the MCOs are challenging providers and they're forcing them to, what are your outcome data? These clients are being served by you, but our cost is still what our cost is. How are you reducing the cost, or how are by them attending your facility, how is that saving us money? So it's going to take teamwork at all levels to do so, but ensuring that you guys are adequately paid in comparison to our competitors is something we're committed to.
Right. That's a great answer. I'm glad that you said that. As far as asking for more pay, the biggest thing on the outside of that, coming from a Q standpoint, is the utilization part of it. We can't decline clients. You know what I'm saying? We can't say we don't want to work with a client that's too hard to deal with and then get upset that you're not getting paid the right amount. So I'm taking accountability for my people that aren't here to speak up and say, okay, that's our ground to meet on. You know, and we understand the MCOs they're not here on the floor with us, so they don't know, you know, what type of resources we have to link our individuals to, the lack of resources that we have available for our clients. They just don't know, so theirs is just coming from what's on paper instead of what we can actually see and what we actually go through working with our individuals. So, okay, Corey.
Stephanie, I will add to that though that documentation is how we tell that story and how we ensure that they understand what they cannot see.
Right.
So the more detailed, the more specific, the more quality that we provide to them, it is a lot harder for them to say no to certain continuation of services.
Right. We're gonna come back to that. We're gonna come back. So that was a great answer. I appreciate that. So our next question, I think you kind of tapped into it already. When will our benefits increase or approved? I think I was reading on one of the documents that I received that I can't even say it. Anthem was the company that we could go with regarding benefits. Was that correct, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So in regards to Anthem or Aetna or other benefit, insurance providers that we could go with, we always evaluate, and Tina would be able to speak more to this. We evaluate at the end of the year what the best rates versus what the best service, but what's important is value, to make sure we get value. Now, previously we had set goals where, okay, once we hit this financial target, we want to provide 100% healthcare, and then we started at 50%. You guys know they've been here for some time, and then we went to 60, then we went to 75, which was the 2 years ago, and then we had to reduce the company paid in regards to health insurance back down to 60 to reduce costs, because due to last year we had a down year. One of our worst year financially. Obviously, you guys know, as you mentioned earlier, things were a little bad, a little rough, right? So, and that's for the entire organization. What I'm most proud of is what we're doing and how the team rallied together to how we turn things around. And this year, things are improving in regards to last year. We're doing much better than we did last year, but we still have a ways to go. So what we're doing now that we're we lost money last year. This year, we're around the break-even standpoint, and we're trajectoring towards being profitable again. So now the discussions are being held about, okay, how can we improve QMHP pay rate? Where do we stand in regards to that? How can we improve benefits? What targets can we put in place to communicate to you guys, hey guys, if we're able to hit this target, guess what? We can increase our benefits for next year back to 75%. So I think it's important to communicate, for us to establish what that target is, and for you guys to understand and know it. And that's a big part of this discussion, as well as further discussions down the road. But that's something that we are looking to do. We are starting to have those conversations in regards to improving benefits and where do we need to be financially to be able to afford it.
Okay, that's a great response as well. We as the Qs and staff, we would like to hear stuff like that instead of we're just gonna take the benefits package down to 50 or 60% instead of what we were getting paid previously. And like I said, I know we had a bad year last year, but we care. You know what I'm saying? We actually do care. So in order for us to be on the same page, we have to hear it just a little bit, even if it's an email or talk about it smallly during supervision or whatever. Like, we want to be able to hear, okay, so they are thinking about our concerns instead of just having something like this. Like, they're actually hearing us and wanting to, you know, fix it and adjust it. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's something that I think that Stephanie, you would be great at helping us do, is bring those type of issues, because you don't mind whose office or door you kick in to communicate about how you feel or what people are thinking. And we appreciate that, and we encourage more of that. So encourage your peers to communicate that as well. And one of Veronica's biggest initiatives, because we were with audits and then financials being down and stuff last year, she was like, Corey, we need to start communicating this to the team to let them know where our documentation may be missing the mark. So, and that's an initiative that we are all focused on. And part of this discussion here, there'll be many more to improve that communication.
I can say for Veronica and Chanel, they have always been vocal about what's going on. And I want to say more Veronica now because she's a newer, fresher face. Chanel, you've been here for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you was, yeah, bring it the way. But Veronica definitely came through like a wrecking ball. She came through and just, you know, let us know. So I want to thank you for the compliment, but it was more, it's more, I feel more comfortable doing it now, being that someone in leadership is actually doing the same thing that I've always kicked down doors and, you know, just be aggressive with what is the change going to be like. We care, we genuinely care, so.
Well, I definitely, I appreciate that stuff, but I do, like I said, when I opened, it's like the transparency piece is important. If people do not understand where the company's going, they won't follow. And we need everybody to understand where we're at, where we're going, how far have we gotten, what improvements have we made, and where, you know, what improvements do we still need to make. So
I kind of mentioned, this is kind of sidetracked, but it's just follow me, guys. We had the Christmas party 2 years ago, right? And I was asked to do like a 15-minute set, right? I'm not gonna call Corey out, but Corey wasn't there to hear it, okay? But still, he was a part of my set, and it was talking about how the Qs are the kids. You know, we are the children of the company. Seriously. Then I said all the L's are like the aunts and uncles. You know what I'm saying? Like the brothers and sisters to the big people, the mom and daddy. Okay, so we all have to stick together, because if the aunts and uncles and the mom and daddies aren't on the same page, the kids gonna run crazy. Does that make sense? It's a little family tree that we have going on here.
Absolutely.
So and it's crazy that I still remember that, because I didn't even record that, but it still is near to me because I really feel like that with Epic. We have to be transparent. All right, speaking of transparency, my gas tank is a little on the empty side. I done rolled all the way over here, then I went all the way over there. For individuals, we are looking for some gas reimbursement. I don't know how much it can be. I don't know if it can be a weekly thing or monthly thing or quarterly thing. I have no idea, but you know, because some of us have clients that are all the way in, what's these I can't even think of the name of the cities over here.
Chatham.
Chatham,
Chatham.
and some of us have individuals in Martinsville sometimes, or even, you know, just more than 20 miles out, more than little old Danville. So we can't do that all the time. We need some gas money. Sheets, the gas is going up in Sheets.
What's the gas amount? What's the gallon of gas cost right now?
$7 a day.
Yes.
It's expensive.
Yes.
Really.
A gallon is $7.
Yeah, you don't know what kind of stuff I got to do to pay for gas in my car.
California?
Somewhere we near them.
$3 an
No.
hour.
It's $3.29. $3.29,
$3.29.
yeah.
Unless you put 93.
Unless you right, that's
Oh, 29.
right. That's regular gas.
Yeah.
And 87, you got 87, huh? It go to 89 and then 93. Huh?
So I'm glad you asked that question,
Mhm.
right? That's a tough question, right? And I'm elated to respond to that because I've heard that question several times. And so currently, in regards to gas mileage, that is not on the table in regards to us evaluating can we pay for gas mileage currently because of where our current costs are and related to the reimbursement rates. It doesn't provide for that. Now, what I will commit to is I'll commit to possibly adding that into a financial target that we can communicate with the team that we will be able to evaluate gas mileage. Now, in addition to that, when we have cases that may be severe or we have cases that may require additional travel that would be the exclusion of you driving to work every day,
Mhm.
right? Because if you drive to work every day, it's not fair. Well, I'm not gonna say it's not fair. Any question is fair, but most companies don't pay for you to drive to work every day, right?
Right.
But if we're asking you to go out of a 20 or 25 mile radius, then I strongly encourage all Qs to meet with their directors to discuss what their travel time is, and there are some exceptions to the rule if there are cases that you're having to travel a long time to that we can make in regards to compensating you for that.
Okay.
Now, what I'm excited about and what's being discussed right now, and it's already been approved, we got to get you guys approval on it and everybody's feedback. And Chanel actually presented this to the leadership team is adding percentage. I don't want to go into many details because I'm gonna let her and Veronica and the team communicate that. Incentive for you guys to be paid for your documentation, things like gas mileage can be combined into that if you want to. That I'm excited about, and I think you guys are going to be excited about it because it adds an opportunity for additional weekly compensation for you guys.
That sounds
So,
real good.
That's fresh off the press.
Oh, okay.
You heard it here first.
Okay, not not a word exclusive.
We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, and I think we approved the go-ahead. We just got to work it through all the criteria,
Right, the
logistics. But I'm excited for you guys to hear about it, and you guys will have a seat at the table too. So
Okay.
just to get your input before it goes into effect.
Okay.
So when that comes out, you can thank Chanel.
And I was about to just thank her right now. Thank you for answering, but Chanel. Okay, thank you for caring. Yeah, I got you. $2
It's important. And I'll just piggyback on what Corey said. We are really, particularly in my role, I'm really pushing for improved documentation, which is going to take more time. So I can't expect you to, or anybody can't expect you to put forth more time and meet these certain standards and not provide some sort of reciprocal benefit for you all.
Right.
Because you can do the bare minimum
Mhm.
for free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're asking you to go above and beyond. So how can we, reciprocate that?
I like that. Yeah. Shoot, my little recommendation was to, give us some quarterly morale building activities where gas cards are a part of the process. That's what I was gonna offer because that's the part I can handle. I can control that.
Well, I think that's a solution that I think that's an affordable solution.
Yeah, that is
So,
an affordable option.
let's definitely make a note of that, Shekinah. Let's evaluate that too.
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind, because that includes winning prizes and feeling like you can really let your hair down, and winning something out of it. You know, we've talked about morale building a lot here. So, yeah,
And morale building is important,
yeah,
and teamwork is important.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
we don't want a company. We don't want to. And this is something I'm very passionate about. Is you can't manage an organization from the top down.
Right.
So, and Veronica is on the same board as well. You have to manage an organization from the bottom up, and without the voice of, and you can classify bottom being anything. I don't think that I'm any better than our janitor, or I'm not. No one is better. No title is more important than the other because they all hold the same amount of importance throughout the organization.
Absolutely.
You guys represent the community in such a way that when I go through the community and I see community leaders and they speak of Epic, they speak of us in a positive manner,
Yeah.
and that means everything to me. So when I say bottom up, I don't want people to take that out of context. But your people that are providing direct care to individuals, they're who we supposed to take care of, because we're asking you guys to take care of the individuals in the field. We supposed to take care of y'all. It has to work that way in order for you to be successful, and that's something that we're cognizant of and something that we're focused on.
Right. No,
No, you go ahead, because my comment was unrelated, so you go ahead.
Okay. But that's why I led with the children of the company, then the aunts and uncles, and then the parents. I did it from that way to make like a bigger picture of, like you said, it starts at the bottom. Like if we acting out, then that's a clear case of there's something really going on. You know what I'm saying? If we're hollering and screaming, but we can't really say or feel comfortable to say anything, then we gotta figure out what's going on.
Absolutely.
So the next question is a place for us to. I'm sorry.
Let me say something real
There you
quick.
go. So I wanted to jump back to your benefit question.
Yes.
It's important too for people to understand what our benefits are, because I think people just think like health insurance, vision, dental, but there are other things that Epic offers for
Let us know.
full-time employees. So we offer Aflac benefits.
Okay.
We offer 401k for those who qualify. And then within our health insurance plan, there are rebate benefits that a lot of people, if you don't read the booklet, they're not gonna tell.
They're not
So
gonna-
like if you go and you get your wellness check, you like your women's wellness or your men's wellness, if you send that bill to your insurance, they pay you for getting that wellness visit. It's the same thing if you get your yearly eye exam. So they're different. If you have a gym membership, your insurance will pay you for losing weight and stuff like that, unbigging your back. Like,
Oh,
they'll
let me
pay
say
you for
something.
that.
Cause I got about 4 years worth of gym membership. My back is still. Yeah.
But it's important to know
Absolutely.
that they do have those built-in
Right.
incentives within the health plan if you do subscribe.
And these are in the actual pamphlet or booklet for with all
That they
the-
sent when you
Right.
signed up.
They send
Okay.
you
So it'll
the
say
sign.
membership benefits or member benefits, and it'll say like yearly wellness, whatever, and it'll say turn those bills in or those receipts or whatever. They'll directly reimburse you. Now it's not like they get
It's
the
a cap.
claim.
Right, it's a cap. So
Yeah,
there-
and
there's
they
a dollar
don't get the
amount cap.
claim and then send it to you.
Right.
You have to take the initiative to send that in.
Right.
But there are some built-in benefits that we don't always know.
That's
And,
good.
and she kind of mentioned she's throwing the dart at us for EAP services.
Yeah. Listen.
That we encourage you guys to use. So don't be afraid to do that. And if you need more information on EAP services, contact your director or HR. Also, Chanel mentioned 401k. That's something that's very important to me that I don't think that our team tap into enough. So once we have enough staff and we're at a level where Veronica can kick me out the door, that's something that I plan to do for our team members, is to go around to our sites quarterly and focus on personal development, financial development, why it's important to save, and things of that nature to improve and prepare for the future.
That is mind blowing because we should have learned stuff like that in school.
Absolutely.
So for us to be these adults now, and then for you to want to incorporate it in our jobs, come on, that's great. Yeah, we need that. I know I do.
I will say something about EAP, and I think people get, that's, like a service that I don't think people understand well enough. It is, offered to you, it's 5, free counseling
Mhm.
sessions that you can tap into for whatever issue may be going on, whether it's personal or work or otherwise. And we don't know as a company who is going, we just get a number. Like how many Epics employees, we had 5 Epic employees that tapped into that resource. One of the other things that we as a company want to do when it comes to giving out benefits is also exposing people to other trainings that they may not have gotten, other developments and increased credentialing. If you decide that you want to switch to something else or you want to do an additional service, all of those things are benefits. I don't think we see them that way, but all of those things are added in there because you have the availability to tap into so many licensed people that can pull you through those things.
Yeah, that makes us more valuable once we do stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Makes us way more valuable.
Absolutely.
But thank you for all of that, real in real life. A lot of these things can be talked about in this next question of mandatory meetings, you know, and getting paid for them. Now, I can say on my end for the Qs, we're not always honest in these meetings. You know, we're not, especially supervisions. They'll be afraid to say certain things. That's why we got the group chats on the side, and I'm just trying to bring those group chats to life. I was supposed to mention that earlier, but I forgot. Mandatory meetings. How can we start getting any type of, any pay for that?
So- go
Corey,
ahead.
let me take that one for
There you
just a
go.
second, only because I looked at it, so I've been with Epic since September 2021 now. And so one of the things that I noticed right off the bat is that there's a lot of required things that we have to do, right? Not necessarily by Epic, but by other mandates. And when we looked at supervision in particular, I asked the question, why are we not allowing the Ls, the full-blown Ls, to license people to do these trainings and then provide CEUs? Every single person, whether you're an L or a Q, are required to, meet certain mandates. You all are required to have 8 CEUs per year, which you have to pay for, right? And they run about $50 to $75 each, depending on what happens, right? So if I take the 8 CEUs that you need and provide them to you on site for 2 reasons. First, to give you cost savings at $50, that's $400 a year, $33 an hour, right? So when you break that down, but you're also getting, we specifically sat down and did a calendar and said, what tools do our staff need?
Right.
And those are the trainings that we're going to provide, so that it wasn't just happenstance, we were just kind of pulling things out the air, talking. If you noticed, we switched, and it's one of us, Crystal, it's the L's that are in there that can provide those supervisions. So when I look at it, is that you're not getting paid, you're not getting tangible dollars,
Right.
but you are saving because you don't have to then turn around and still come to a meeting that's required to keep your QMHP and then pay for a CEU on
Right,
top of all of
absolutely.
that. Now, we took on that responsibility because we were like, we've got to be able to account for their time, and how do we reimburse for that? Well, we do it by giving you that cost savings so that you don't then have to turn around and spend it.
No, I actually noticed that the last 2 supervisions, actually, I received emails from Casey giving me my CEU certifications for the specific, supervisions, and I was able to go ahead and add those when I did my update, my licensure this year. So, yeah,
And I will say this to people, and I'm not sure if people are aware, and I think I've mentioned it in supervision before. You are required to hold on to those CEUs, because if you get audited by the board, then they go back 5 years to ask for those CEUs. And so if you can't produce them,
Yeah.
then there's issues with your certification. So we want to make sure that you never get into that situation by offering those things to you once a month.
I think that's way more beneficial for both ends instead of actual money for going to a supervision once a month, or an individual supervision once a week or once a month. So I like that idea better. All right, Chanel's, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
So the relationship I have with Chanel, when I first got to, when did you got here in 2020? 2019? 2019.
Yeah, September.
So you got here a couple months after I did, right? And when I first started working with Chanel, she was my L. You were
Yeah.
my first one. One of my first ones. Let me tell you something about Chanel real fast. Very, very, very knowledgeable. If not one of the most knowledgeable people here in this company. Seriously, you know your stuff. I'm gonna tell you that. You know your stuff. So this question.
That head is already big, Stephanie. Don't make it.
Yeah, it is. But it's okay. It's enough room on that couch. Yeah, we got all right. All right. It's not. But Epic is constantly making changes to policies and processes. Why don't we have consistency?
That is an amazing question, and it's one I asked too. So,
Okay.
So I'm keeping it 100. Like I say, like, man, things are always changing. We answer to, Epic answers to 4 or 5 governing boards who all have different regulations, different expectations, different changes. So you have DMAS, who gives us our regulatory standards for the programs. You have DBHCS, who provides the code of Virginia. You have the Department of Health Professionals, which does our certifications and our licenses. You have CARF, because we are a CARF accredited agency. And then you also have your MCOs. So everybody wants something different, and everybody rolls out changes throughout the year. One thing that Epic has really strived to do a better job at is being ahead of the curve and more proactive and less reactive.
Right.
So a lot of the changes are the ones that are enforced on us by the governing bodies, and then we have to adjust accordingly.
Right.
Secondly, we also listen to feedback. So, and I'll just give you an example. Our L's, who you call our aunties and uncles, came and said, hey, you know, we really want to be more role specific. We don't want to kind of have to kind of do a little bit of everything. So we changed and we created different sectors of roles. What that caused was now people are having to shift clinical supervisors. They're having to do things a little differently. Then months later, they came back and they said, nope, I kind of want to do a little bit of everything. I'm getting bored with doing this one thing. Which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
We all kind of grow and change, and you have staffing changes and stuff like that. But when we listen to feedback from our staff, it requires us to make some adjustments.
Right.
So we're striving for consistency, and we're really working to have what we call controlled chaos.
Yeah.
And that comes through the transparency, through the preparation, through communicating, all right guys, this is what's gonna change, this is why it's gonna change, and this is how it's gonna look. So that's what I would say about
Wow, that is.
And just to add to
Great.
that, Stephanie, I think to give you a perspective, DMAS, Medicaid in particular, changes regulations roughly about every 90 to 6 months, 90 days to 6 months, they're changing something. Come July, we've got another set of regulation changes. Crisis is changing, skill building's changing, intensive income is changing. They're adding, they're taking away, so they are constantly readjusting, which forces us to do the same.
Right. See, I think also, thank you so much for answering those questions. I think also from our perspective, the changes, it takes a long time for people to get in the groove of certain things. And being that they can't adjust all the way well or fast enough, like being ahead of the curve, it's hard for them. Now, one of the biggest changes I was not a fan of was the hotline.
The crisis hotline.
988, yeah.
I was not a fan of it. I was not a fan of it because it slowed down referrals, it slowed down clients, it slowed down money for a lot of us.
Right.
So I don't know if you all know the answer to that, but like I said, that's just that was just one of the changes that happened that didn't really benefit anyone.
Right.
So what happened with crisis services and the inception of that whole vision was because we've had an astronomical amount of money being spent on hospitalizations as a state. Virginia was spending billions of dollars on hospitalizations. They had to figure out a way to cut that back. So what they came up with was the inception of mobile crisis, and what they realized is that mobile crisis was not curbing the hospitalizations. Instead, now they had 2 pools of money that they were pouring into and not seeing the results. So the state looked at this and said, we believe that there are an enormous amount of unnecessary hospitalizations, so we're going to take back control of who and how people access this service. The intent was to utilize a call center, and not realizing, I think that, that we notoriously have a small population, not necessarily all of ours, but they struggle with mental illness in ways that baselines don't change much.
Right.
So that's gonna be a normal way of kind of reacting to
Mhm.
something. They didn't account for those things.
Yeah.
And so I think now the new crisis regs that are coming out in July, are gonna have yet some more changes that are coming to it. We've got a webinar coming July 10th that we're gonna have to sit through and kind of watch and see what, what changes are gonna be recommended. So they're tweaking their system as they find things that don't work, which
Mhm.
then causes us to have to switch and change how we do business.
Yeah. I think us as Qs or the children of the company, if we just understand that that's going to happen naturally because of all the changes,
Right.
the outside sources that are changing, then we will be able to adjust better. But
Right.
we get stuck in the routine of, I know I got to see this person this day, this how many hours they get, these are the resources they need,
Right.
and that's it. Like, things are going to change.
Well,
Like,
I will say this to you, that, with these changes in July, it's not just price, it's skill building's changing. There's replacement services that are coming for that and for intensive in-home, so it's not just how we do, so we're going to go through yet another change. I will say this, that I think that the state is becoming very well aware of its pitfalls, and they're trying to address those things. By using other states that are much more advanced than our behavioral health system is now, and saying, you know what, this is working very well here, let's replicate that in Virginia. So I'm happy. I think it can be cumbersome and it can be tiresome because it's constant change, but I think that what's coming, I'm hopeful that it's gonna be to our benefit and not to our detriment.
And team, please bear with us because there will be more structural changes within the organization and more changes that come.
Right.
Now, what we're going to do a better job of, and what we've been focused on, is getting in front of those changes, like you just mentioned. We would like to know that they're coming instead of the date of it happening. All right, guys, this is change. So, and what we're doing about that is Veronica's. It's only one person, but she's joined several work groups that will have input in making these changes. So that will give us a seat at the table to allow us to know what the changes are going to be before they just send us a memo saying, hey, you guys got to do this. And a lot of times, guys, we say, because I hear this a lot, well, the other agencies don't do that. Other agencies, we don't have to do all these changes there. So they have, and the MCOs and DMADs have a certain amount of providers that they oversee, and it usually goes with who are the larger providers.
right.
The smaller providers are able to get away with things a lot sooner, a lot further than we can, because we have several sites. They look at these things, they look at you, they scrutinize you higher, more frequently, and things of that nature, as the larger you get. So that's why things normally hit us sooner than they hit other agencies. But I can assure you, the team that we have in place, we're not doing things just to make you guys do it. We don't want you guys just to do extra work, and we want to reduce redundancy, not create that. But those are things that, like Chanel mentioned, we have 5 other governing bodies that rules that we have to follow.
I will share this, Stephanie, and I don't think the rest of the team is aware of this, and maybe some are, but some are not. Last year, Epic was chosen by DBHDS as one of the premier providers. So Virginia licensed 646 providers last year, new providers from what already exists. From that 646, three agencies were chosen to be kind of the peer agencies. So we were chosen as one of the 3 to be on DBHDS's panel to teach the new providers as to what they need to be doing in the community.
Well, we're doing something right. That's good. That is good. Like, seriously, I had no idea about that.
So I got to sit on that panel, and I got to present to the other 646 panels about how we do business, what we do, why we do it, what regulatory standards we follow, we would not have been chosen as one of those 3 agencies
Talk about it.
if we were not doing what we were supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
So I cringe sometimes when I hear people, well, I work at so and so and y'all doing too much, and it's just, you know, this and it bothers me because I know how hard we work, all of us, to get to the standard that we're exhibiting now, and for our governing entity who could close our doors to tap us to say, you know what, we want you guys to come and teach the rest of them. That's an honor that I don't think we can pay for.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. I've worked for another agency before, and
I thought you said you hadn't cheated on
I did this.
She did like that.
I did that for a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So I noticed what we do, and to the eyes of Qs or people that worked in companies that don't care about them, they would assume that Epic is doing too much. Now I worked for another agency and I saw they weren't doing enough, and I said, you know something, I'm good on y'all. I can't be here because y'all don't care about me. Y'all, another transparency moment. I know I don't do top notch of what I'm supposed to do sometimes, but for one specific company, they let me get away with a lot, and I didn't like that. Sometimes I need to be, you know, a little. Come on, come back over here, Stephanie. Like, get it together. This one company did not do that, and I don't know what they're doing with their company now. I don't know what's going on with them now, but I know that I'd rather be with a company that's gonna hold me accountable when I'm messing up, not let me get away with messing up. You know what I'm saying? Not let me get away with, you know, just doing the bare minimum when I know I'm a way better hard worker than that. You know, so I'd rather be with a company that's gonna do too much. For real, cause I know that means that we're doing something right. Especially if you're saying that you were on the panel top 3.
Yeah.
That's high.
Yeah, there
How
were
did you
three
feel?
of us in the state that got chosen, and
Yeah.
Epic was one of those.
How did you feel about that?
Oh, I love our team. I think we have the best team in the state.
Do you really?
No question about
Okay. I just want to see it on your face some
it.
more,
No,
Corey.
no question about it.
Okay. I'm glad I'm part of this team. Okay, I was
No
chosen. I was chosen. Okay, so the next question is, what is being done to address the instability of QMHP's hours?
Good question. So the nature of the services that we have hung our hat on for so long are changing, right?
Okay.
So like Veronica mentioned, MCOs are getting stricter about, and I'll pick on mental health skill building, about how long they're allowing people to be in services, how many hours they're authorizing. Certain MCOs, let's say Centera and Anthem already said, look, we're only giving you 9 hours max on an initial authorization. People are used to 15 hours, 2
You
years,
hear me?
same client,
Ah.
you know. MCOs have changed a lot.
Yeah.
So what Epic has done more so, I would say, over the last year, as we prepare for continuous changes and declines in those services as we know them, is add new programs. Adding new programs that, regardless of your level of credentialing or certification or whatever, you can provide services in those areas. So mental health PHP, we're soft launching that, but that's a Q level service. We can have a Q that can work in that program. If anybody, like Veronica said, if people want additional credentialings, like we say, you know what, I want to work in substance use. Apply for your CSAT, get under supervision. Me, Veronica, Christy can provide you supervision for that. So we're preparing for changes, creating other avenues so that the people that are employed with us can maintain employment, can maintain appropriate income, things of that nature. But also in those particular programs, we are trying to do a better job of monitoring when things start to decline. When people start to say, hey, I need more hours, we have liaisons that are going out helping with referrals. So we're doing these things to fill those gaps too, as we prepare for launching these new programs that'll benefit everybody.
To add to that, Stephanie, I think I encourage you all to, there are times where hours are available, but they're left on the table because people will say, no, I'm gonna change my mind, or the client's too difficult, or there are other things that come about that get in the way of that. So I just ask people to be aware, if that's you, that makes it really hard for us to be able to meet your needs, do you know what I'm saying, when it comes to hours, if you're not meeting us halfway. So, and this is not a blame thing, but it has to be us working together.
Right. No, look, that's definitely you know, like I said, I'm gonna speak for the Qs, and I've met some Qs that will say, I don't wanna work with this individual because it's too hard or it's too far, or, you know, I don't have the time, I don't wanna make room in my schedule. Then you don't want the bread, you don't want the money. And it's more than that too. Like, we have some individuals that have resources available, but they don't wanna share.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another reason why some people won't pick up any more Qs or hours or go into any other programs, because it's kind of like gatekeeping
Yeah.
that's going on.
Yeah.
Or we're all focusing on one person that's knowledgeable in everything. If we can't get to you guys, then we're gonna focus on the one person in the Danville office that knows everything, and she's worn out.
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. She's worn out. Okay, so it is us to take our responsibility to say, look, 9 hours from X company, or go out and get some more individuals to come in so you can work. So
The other thing that I also ask people to do is to think about, you know, you guys are in the field out in the community all the time. You all are seeing needs that it may take a minute before it gets to us. If there's a need out there that we need to create a program around, the only people that can tell us that is you. So if you guys don't share that with us, then we can't start to formulate our minds around, okay, what's next? One of the things that I like about, you know, being here with Epic, and unlike where I was at before, we didn't have that autonomy to be able to create and grow just at the notice of a need. We had all these red tape and entities that we had to get approval from before, and therefore it didn't get launched. That doesn't happen here. If we notice a need and identify a need and figure out a way to wrap a program around it, we'll get that thing launched in 90 days or less. Okay.
Because the mental of PHP,
Yes.
that came out kind of suddenly, even though it's a soft launch going on right now. It came out pretty quick from when it was introduced to
Right.
now that it's
Well, I
happening.
mean, we have more. We've got anger management's getting ready to launch in July, and I mean, there's all these other things coming that do you know what I'm saying? So we're not sitting around thinking, you know what, we're just gonna work with what we've got. It's like, all right, what's next? What else is
Yeah.
next? The court needs this needs that, and we're constantly, you know, one of the biggest things, we're looking at residential services
Yes,
for
that's what I was
our
gonna
substance
mention.
use programs, because we noticed that there's a need there, and instead of sending them out 3-4 hours away, we need to do that here at home.
Absolutely.
And I'll also say check Indeed for epic roles. Let me clarify. Because there may be something else that we're looking for
In-house.
the in-house, and we would love to promote or add on to the people that are already here than to bring somebody from the outside. So definitely always check Indeed, reach out to Shekinah, talk to HR about open positions or other needs. And then also reach out to your ops and your clinical supervisors if you need more hours. There's not a site that does not leave hours on the table every week, if I'm being honest. So if there's somebody that's like, man, I don't have enough hours, reach out. We have them to get to you most likely. But we don't know what you need if you don't communicate it. And if you're on the flip side, if you know you can't provide the services to your individual, reach out to your team and say, hey, I can't see my individual for the rest of the week.
Right.
Can somebody take these hours?
Right.
So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Right. So y'all know, working in the field is, you know, we make our own schedule dealing with our clients. We see them on, you know, the days that they're available, we're available. Getting into that habit, into that routine could get very comfortable. So I don't know how we can put some initiative in most people's hips in order to get out and want to be a part of different programs. But like I said, once we get in the habit of, okay, 15 hours, 9 hours, 6 hours or whatever a week, okay, that's my 40, 50 hour week, I'm good. I don't gotta do nothing else. No.
There's more.
One of the things that we started doing different some time ago was discussing those upcoming service launch and supervision, because I think you guys get bombarded with tons of emails, and I think even though we sent it out, those things get missed, right? But they don't get missed when we're in that open forum in there. So I think, like, discussing when, like, SUD PHP got launched, discussing that mental health PHP is getting launched. Just talking about these things residential, when there are issues in the community that come up, when we talk about these things openly, I think you guys tend to take that information and are able to process it much better and different to see where you fit in than if you're, you know, getting bombarded with tons and tons of emails.
Right, absolutely. Speaking of emails, this next question is really near and dear to me. Okay, it's about this note policy. Okay, 24-hour notes. When I first started with Epic, notes were due Sundays at 5:00 p.m. Okay? Then it went to 48 hours, I think. And then we've been on 24-hour notes for quite a while.
Almost a year now.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because we started with a program and then moved on to the rest of our programs.
Right, and we also had the big change from NSYNC to I was with Penzi first, then we went to NSYNC, and we went to NSYNC quick. I'm talking about bye, like quickly. We went to NSYNC, and then now we're over back at Penzi. So this is a lot of, now that's a huge change for a lot of us, you know, to find out the easiest way to put our notes in within the new technology and all the kinks that Penzi has to go through, or even when we had NSYNC, what they had to go through. So 24-hour notes are hard. It's really hard. It's easier, you know, once we get used to these specific programs, it gets easier after you do them for a while. But how can we say we're gonna stick with Penzi and then everyone get kind of on the same board for 24-hour notes?
Gotcha. So I'll speak to both pieces about the EHR changes and then the 24-hour notes.
Okay.
So the EHR changes, when we went from Penzi to NSYNC, in the spirit of transparency, they sold us a big dream. And we really thought we were trying to go more automated, is how I put it. Like everything was more systematic, everything was more like what we thought would be convenient.
Right.
What we discovered with NSYNC is it was horrible for compliance. Primarily because we had a hard time tracking things, we had a hard time getting things signed, closed, all those things. So when we started getting audited, it was like ding, 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 ding. So we were like, okay, we have to reevaluate the EHR system that we're using that is causing this barrier for compliance. Because as we know, compliance is a big deal.
It's
You
very,
know, so
it's a
it's
very
the
big
head,
deal.
it's really the head honcho.
Yeah, literally.
If we're being
It
honest.
is.
Because if you're not compliant, all the work you're doing is in vain at the end of the day. So we had to evaluate what can we do, what EHR can we go to that is user friendly for the 15 programs. That's another thing. So NSYNC wasn't always friendly for every program that we provided. Now a lot of agencies use, and I'll just throw Loris out there, but they provide one or two different types of programs. We provide outpatient, we provide psych. Those programs need specific requirements. So when we thought about coming back to Penzi, it was because one, it worked for all of our programs, and two, it helped us better organize things for compliance.
Okay.
So that was the whole motive behind
NSYNC
the
back to Penzi.
going back to Penzi.
Okay.
We evaluated Loris, we evaluated it was another one. I can't even think of it.
I've used Loris.
Yeah,
before.
we've evaluated different ones, but we said we don't want people, if you work in multiple programs, to have to go in 3 different EHRs to do your notes. Like, that's cumbersome for anybody. So that was the motivation for switching back, or part of the motivation for switching back to Penzi. Now with the 24-hour notes, because we offer so many programs with different requirements, so a lot of our programs, there's only one program that does not technically require a 24-hour note.
I know which program that is.
Okay, there's only one of the 15 or however many, 11, 12, however many programs we offer that doesn't require 24 hours. However, we have people, whether they're Qs, clinical supervisors, whatever, that work across multiple programs. We have individuals that are served across multiple programs, and people that supervise multiple programs. It's really hard to put let me put my skill builder hat on to say, I gotta do my note by Sunday, but let me put my in-home hat on to say, I need a 24-hour note. But then if I'm in arts, I need a 24-hour note or same-day note if I'm doing. So it was easier for us to say, okay, what is the majority rule? The majority of our programs require a 24-hour note. And then on top of that, as somebody who assists with audits, we've gotten a lot of kickback about the validity of our notes, like if they're truly what happened in session, the quality of our notes, the content of our note as far as does that note justify the timing. If you give me your note in 24 hours, I have time to review it, send it back for revisions, and still be in compliance. But if you give it to me a week later, I'm already out of compliance, and now I dare not send it back to you for revisions, because are you really gonna remember what you did on Monday, and you putting a note in on the following Sunday? So how can we eliminate you all's risk as the provider for documenting things that may not have truly happened? How can we keep the content real time, but how can we meet the needs of everybody in the agency?
Whew.
Now, Stephanie, I will tell you this, and
That's a,
it's
I'm
a
sorry.
lot, it's a lot, but I will tell you this, that one of the, I think when I came into this role, one of the first tasks that we took on as a team was to look at your particular, skill building note, right? And I thought this thing is horrendous, like it was type box, and I was like, Jesus, no wonder they're copying and pasting and not finishing sentences, it's too much typing, right? So we sat down and we ripped that thing to shreds. I mean, pretty much came up with an entire new note template, did click downs for as much as we could do, and still not take away your ability to freestyle what you were seeing in that session. So for us to get everybody on the same page, we knew we had to systemically change what was happening. We wouldn't have been able to get to that with skill building in particular if we kept that note template.
Right.
So we redid that. That also caused us to start looking at the other programs' templates to say, are those templates efficient for what they need to do? So for us, we had to say, if we want them to do this, then we've got to give them the ability to do that and not be the system that's getting in the way. I felt like we were getting in the way of you all meeting those things, because when I started meeting with you guys, that was the constant complaint. Then notes take too long. It takes me 3-4 hours to sit down and do notes, and I'm like, all right, well, we got to fix the note template, and we did that. So we expected that when we did the systemic change, we weren't going to continuously see the same issues that we were seeing when you guys had 7 or 8 type boxes that you had to type in. That's a lot.
Yeah, cause it was
I ain't gonna
we were-
lie,
we
that
were
would be
used-
hard for me to sit there and
Man,
do.
listen. click, 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 click. It was
Right.
clicking all day, and
Yeah.
some of us some people only have one client to do. Some of us have got 7, 8 clients to do, and like you said, some of us work over multiple programs. But also, like I said, once we get used to doing something for a while, it's hard to make the change and implement,
Absolutely.
the new thing. And
If I can add to that, and I've heard great reviews from Q's about the changes that you guys have made in
Absolutely.
regards to the note. And I commend you guys for doing that, because we can't ask them to do more, like Chanel mentioned earlier, if we don't give them something and take something away, right? So that's the give and take environment that we're trying to create. But in addition to the 24-hour note, just so you guys know that's not something that we just dismissed you guys' complaints about that. LaSherry kicked down every door possible to let everybody know that the 24-hour note is causing you guys problems, and you guys disagree with the note. And we discussed that in leadership. So, and I asked the question, so do we want to make them do something that potentially is not a requirement? And then when they explained to me the process of how they have to go about it, and exactly what Chanel just explained, how could I not go with the reason why they made the decision? Now, what's important is this is a platform that we're happy to do so, is to tell you the why. So we don't want you guys not to challenge us, and if things you disagree with, not to put it on our desk and not to let us know, hey, this is a problem. That lets us know that we have a healthy environment. Because if you're not getting that feedback, you have a problem. Right. So that's important. We encourage you guys to continue to make sure we hear you, right? We want to know your complaints.
Yeah.
We really do. We're not guaranteeing that I'm going to be able to appease or say yes, or Chanel or Veronica are going to say yes to all of them, but we owe you a response.
Right.
And the why is important.
Right. Yeah, because we get a lot of one. I do want to say that Penzi, the note process is a lot easier. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier. But being in the field, working with the individuals, we will forget to put even if we type notes in our note part of our phone or pulling out our laptop and doing a note with the individual. Sometimes we got back to back clients, or we have to sit in whatever type of meeting or whatever, and it's hard to try to just get them in, you know, in the 24-hour time span. And I'm really speaking for me, because I'm gonna be transparent with myself. It's been a struggle because of the work that I do in the community with my individuals, and then try to come in here and make sure I got all my documentation signed. I turn in all my sign off. I try to do what I can, but it's pretty hard. And when you didn't mention mental health skill building as the one that's, you know, it doesn't have to have a 24-hour note, I read that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's still better that we have them all up there so everyone can start implementing and practicing to have them all in at the same time,
Absolutely.
instead of me just trying to put my notes in on whatever time, you know.
So you gotta keep in mind that part of what we're constantly looking at is the liability behind when we decide not to do something.
Mm.
Okay? And so here's where when we mentioned earlier, we got those 5 entities that we have to answer for. But here's where they differ, and they put us in a predicament that that we have to then decide what to do, right? So DMAS's regulations are clear. It's not required 24-hour note, but DBHDS is not clear and indicates that all notes are required within 24 hours.
Right.
So our responsibility, when we have to answer to so many different entities, we've got to look at the 5 and say, which is the most stringent?
Right.
That's the one we're going to follow, because if we do that, then the rest of them will take care of themselves.
Right.
And these entities don't talk to each other. They don't communicate with each other. They do not care that, you know, the regulations contradict each other. They're getting better with it, I think, to start having those discussions, to say we're looking at these things, but changes is still not made. I can pull up DMAS's regs, and I can pull up DBHDS's regs. This is gonna tell me I've gotta do all notes within 24 hours.
Right.
So what do we do with that? We gotta err on that side, because if we get audited from DBHDS, they look at those things. Are these notes signed within the time frame that we said the service was done? And so now the difference is how you get dinged. Do you know what I'm saying? DBHDS is the person that can close our doors, right? DMAS can pull our funding, our revenue back. So you always have to, you're fighting like, okay, what do I do? Do I follow DBHDS? Do I follow DMAS? And the MCO said something different. Now what? Now CARF wants this, you know? And
Right.
so they're so nitpicky. And I'll just give you an example of how nitpicky. CARF requires that we sign in, and how many of us actually sign out for the end of the day? That's a requirement, that we sign in and sign out. Now, most of us sign in, but I guarantee about 99.9% of us do not sign out. So, and now you might think, well, that's nitpicky. At the end of the day, I'm not thinking about signing out, but that's their requirement, right? And so next year, when it comes time for our CARF accreditation, they're gonna be looking at that stuff. So we constantly have to, like, over here. This is why it takes so many of us to look at these regulations, and constantly we're like, okay, I read this, I read that, Patrice read this, Corey read that, you know, and we're constantly like trying to get together and ebb and flow, and how do we write this so that we're meeting the most stringent regulation, because that's the one that's gonna ding us when we don't do it.
And I'll just, the last thing I'll add when it comes to 24-hour notes is I really strongly encourage the staff to, well, the culture of EPIC to move towards collaborative documentation. So what that looks like is in your session, before you leave that person's house, let them out the car, whatever. Hey, let's recap what we did today.
Yeah.
Write your note, last 10, 15 minutes, and the note's done. But it makes you feel like you got paid for writing your note, because it's within your time frame that you're with the individual, and you don't have the headache of, now I've seen 5 individuals today, now I gotta go home, cook dinner, bathe the baby, and write notes.
Yeah.
Get it done within that collaborative time. So definitely reach out to your clinical supervisors, your directors, if you need more training on, well, how can I do a collaborative mental health skill building session if I'm in the community?
Right.
What does that look like?
Right.
And we can definitely help you all.
No, that's one of the biggest recommendations for a lot of us that try to put in the 24-hour notice. Do it when you got your client. It's hard sometimes. It really is. These individuals don't be wanting to stay. They be ready to go. If it's when they appointment over, they ready to get out of there and be done. And then you have your next person that's ready to go ahead and get seen, and they don't want to have to worry about putting in any notes or nothing like that. So it's pretty hard. It's
But Steph, what would you tell, if an individual was struggling with implementing something that was hard, how would you guide them through that? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
So we have to be willing to look at what are we teaching, and am I myself utilizing those skills when the situation presents itself? Do you know what I mean? And we have to then say, okay, I can or don't. If we don't try to work through that and start with one client, and this client I'm gonna make sure I do it, and then the next one you do the same, and you do the same. Next thing you know, you've got your entire caseload on a rhythm, right? Because it took you a minute to get the rhythm that you have now. So you gotta work through those processes and look at the scenario and say, am I utilizing what I'm teaching?
that's what it is. We have to try to do it instead of just saying it's not going to work. That's the main thing.
That's perspective. And utilizing technology. There's technology platforms today that weren't here yesterday, right? So, and AI is only getting bigger.
Scary.
So, I think we just make sure that we utilize all the tools, and we're always looking for improvement. We're analyzing things that will make things easier for the team all the time.
So this is actually going to go right into the next question. As far as the way you broke down the note process, the 5 different entities that we have to answer to, that is the type of communication we need to hear instead of just saying, put your notes in 24 hours or you're going to get written up. That transparency, how else can we open these floodgates of communication so that we, the Qs, versus everyone else, we feel like we're on the same page? Because you got a new L this week. Go ahead and introduce Miss Smith to you, and she gonna take care of these clients, and you don't got such and such no more. Because I seen one lady, it was the real tall lady was here one day, and then she was gone.
What happened to her?
I
What did you do to her?
I ain't do nothing. I ain't do nothing. I know I probably ran some people out here, but this time it won't me. It was not me. It was not me. But seriously, man, like I said, we have to bring our side group chats to life, and the communication is not there. But you know, a lot of our Qs, we really talk about the same thing. It's the 24-hour notes and then the clients not be getting the hours that we need. So how can we fix the communication? How can we fix it? Because I have a recommendation, but I'll let y'all go
So,
first.
well, I think one of the things that I like, especially that we're embarking on something like this, you know, doing this live interview, I think allows you to ask us questions, you know what I'm saying, and not be so scripted with things, and so that we can open up and have more open dialogue leading from question to question. The other piece is also having that communication and that open discussion in supervision. Us bringing the changes to, now some things we have to do sooner than supervision, you know, is near. So we've got to figure out how to better communicate that. But one thing that we are pushing really hard is to empower our clinical supervisors to be much more involved in our leadership decision-making process, so that they themselves can take, because you have contact with them more than you do us, right? So you see them, you talk to them, they're kind of, you know, they're monitoring your cases. So they have to know what's going on in order for them to relay that information to you all. So we're doing a much better job of figuring out how do we empower our supervisors, what tools do they need, you know, what trainings do they need, where do we need to be a little bit more strategic in how we place them with their strengths, so that they deliver information to you all instead of you all waiting for us to be able to get you all together in a group and say, oh, we've got this coming or that coming. And I'll just, you know, for example, I'll just use Chastity. Chastity should know as much as what's going on. If we've got new programs coming out, you should be able to ask her and get the same answer that you get from me.
Right.
But we're working on empowering that team and strengthening that team, so that they then can be able to deliver what they need to deliver to you all.
See, so thank you so much for answering that question. It's hard. Let me tell you why. Some of the relationships that we have, like I said, they're not truly honest. They're not truly, you know, we're not super authentic. I'm one of the ones that's gonna do and say what I want sometimes to get some type of feedback. But you know, we're dealing with different personalities that we work with. Some people are shy, some people don't know how to speak well enough on their own to say this is what I need or what I want. You know, some people feel like I don't need to go to you because you don't know the answer anyway. Or let me just ask my my homie over here, my employee mate over here. They know what's going on because they're, you know, in cahoots with everybody else. So it's too much telephone going around because then everybody gonna get different information.
Right.
Absolutely.
We used to do, I don't know if we still do this, I know Intensive In-Home has it on the calendar every week, their phone call. I think they're 8 or 9 o'clock phone call in the morning. I don't know if they still get online. I'm not in Intensive In-Home anymore. I don't know if we can start bringing that back for Communication Weekly and to let people know that this is a place where you can really just be honest and ask the questions that you want instead of feeling like, oh, well, you know, the big people here, I can't really say what I want to say because they're going to just lead me to somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? We got to follow a specific chain of command for certain things. I don't know, even if I kind of implement it, you know what I'm saying? Just set up a phone call like, look, y'all, this is what's going to happen this week. What do y'all want me to go back and say to everyone else? I don't know. Maybe it's more, they'll be more comfortable. I don't know.
So we need you guys' support in regards to stakeholders and communicating, whether we have spokespersons for every level, spokespeople for every level, or etc. We gotta figure out a way to improve our communication. One of the things that we're evaluating now is how many layers. Do we have too many layers in our organization? How can we flatten it out? Because of what you're mentioning, and there are things that one person might assume or receive information one way and then may communicate it a different way. So how are we able to get everybody in alignment? So that's something that we're continuously looking at, and even more so now, of how do we flatten out the organization so we can improve or reduce the communication gap, because there's a clear communication gap, which you're mentioning, and we are aware of it, and we're committed to fixing it.
And I would say just take advantage of, like, we'll send the survey out quarterly, so that's the avenue for people to feel like to anonymously communicate what their concerns are, feedback or whatever. We try to communicate, I know we do a lot of like email communication, but read those emails though, especially those that are marked as urgent, because they do have announcements, like she mentioned, supervision. Hopefully one day we can get back to like the newsletter, but we were doing those things to try to grab people's attention and let them know what's going on. Something that I have ran by Corey and Veronica, and I'm prematurely saying this because it hasn't been really thought through, but was doing kind of like a work group. So picking representatives from every level, and I think we did something similar. I think it was the Q engagement committee or whatever. So doing something similar to that, where we all come together, we discuss issues, and then I report back to the leadership, and then you all can report back to your respective departments, teams, and sites. So I think that's something that we're trying to implement too, so everybody feels like they have a seat at the table vicariously through somebody else.
I like those ideas.
The other option is that all sites have the suggestion boxes, and those are anonymous. You can put whatever, make suggestions. You don't have to indicate who you are. It's just this is the topic and submit it. And then Shekinah takes those, HR takes those and looks through them and categorizes them, and then we discuss as they come about. But those I would recommend, that if you're not comfortable speaking out in the open, and that you can turn around and make sure that you're putting those suggestions in the boxes.
Okay. And Shekinah's giving me a note saying we also have an open door policy.
I was definitely going to bring that up. Thank you.
Guys, we need your support. We can't close this gap without the support from you. Supervisions, I remember I said in supervision, and they might have had a Q&A the last 10 minutes, and it was tough questions being asked like you're asking today in those supervisions. If that's not the case, we need to get back to that. So, and I'm challenging you. We need your help, Stephanie. So, and we need others' help. If there's questions in the group chat that everyone else is afraid to answer, be the one have the confidence to ask those questions during supervisions or in that.
Yeah.
We don't have a question that if we don't know the answer, we're gonna tell you we don't know the answer.
Right.
And we're gonna get back with you. No one in this organization is so ego driven that you cannot ask us a question. And the tough questions, like
Yeah.
we didn't filter. Now I wanted some of the wording changed on some of the things, but we didn't filter any of the questions that
We
you
won't gonna
guys
change none of the words for it.
you guys were asking because
Yeah.
we want that. We
Yeah.
gotta have it.
Authenticness. So another thing too, it's hard to come into the office sometimes. It's hard to come in here because the energy will just be, it's like everyone has their own office. Some people keep their doors closed. Stephanie, will come here and hey, how y'all doing? I'll yell and, like you said, I'll go through people's doors. I don't know if that's another thing that's keeping our people from speaking out and saying certain things or asking certain questions. They don't feel welcome. They don't feel wanted. They don't feel like, y'all gonna be able to answer it. Like I said, it's the chain of command it comes off like it's not welcoming. So somebody will ask me, oh, Steph, well, how do you get this, and that? I said, well, I asked. Well, I'm not gonna ask it. They gonna tell me no. You don't know that until you do it.
Yeah.
But the energy sometimes is, don't treat me like a client. And
Well,
not to say that clients get treated bad or
Yeah,
anything like that, but I want to be welcomed as well. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
And that's good feedback for us to hear. Because sometimes we do get bogged down in the day to day, like, oh, I got to get this report done, I got to do this, I got to do that. That we don't consider, well, how does that look if you approach my door and you knock 5 times and I never respond?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, those are things that we're not always, or people aren't always thinking about. So that's good feedback to have, and that's something that we can take. Because Corey's been and Veronica have been very big about the open door policy.
Yeah.
Like, literally
Yeah.
and figuratively.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, open your doors. Like, we don't want people being closed off. We don't want people like in solitude or silos from each other. So that's good feedback to have. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah. Because I'm definitely that child that's gonna open the doors.
And that's been challenging since COVID. And that we're trying to figure out, okay, what's the happy medium with, but team, please don't think that doors are closed because we don't want you to come in and talk to us, or we don't want the feedback. It may be HIPAA, it may be a discussion that's being had, or it may be that a lot of times when you get in here, and I know for me, I'll have to do my desk work at night because during the day it's all communication. So there may be times where people are just saying, all right, I don't want to work tonight when I get home, so let me knock out these tasks. But there's never a time where you're not invited in the office.
Okay.
I'm happy you brought that, you raised that issue, Steph, because, I'm here in the office a lot, and that's the last thing that I want is for people to feel like they're not wanted in this environment. We can't function without our team, right? And so, I'm grateful that you brought that up, because I need to be more mindful of what's happening around me and what I'm not recognizing.
Right.
So
Yeah, we don't. It's no problem. Like I said, I understand that we get caught in what happens day to day. Like some can happen in substance abuse, or some can happen in intensive home. It doesn't matter, but still, sometimes it's like, dang, don't walk around with this. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is. So this next question is, what is the plan for prioritizing Richmond? I specifically would love to hear that because I don't really know too much not a lot about Richmond. They're the little baby brother or baby sister company. Site.
Yeah. And they are, excuse me, our newest site.
Mm-hmm.
And so first of all, I want to destigmatize that Richmond is not a priority.
Right.
Because they are. All of our sites are equally prioritized in different ways and in different categories. Our priority for Richmond is really solidifying the foundation, building a solid team, and then growing. So in comparison to like a Danville where they feel like,